Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Breckland Planning for today. Could I first of all just cover off what we class as our general housekeeping? First of all, fires. If not that we're going to have a fire, but if there is a fire, there are fire exits quite clearly marked on this left-hand side. There is another one on the corridor which goes down towards the lavatories and, of course, the entrance door that you came in. Now, there is not a test, or I haven't been told there's a test today. So if we hear the fire alarm, we will treat it as genuine and we'll vacate the building. We will congregate in the car park and we'll wait for the beefy firemen to turn up, and you can all be really pleased at watching them put the fire out. It might be a flood, actually. But anyway, if you're concerned about where, just follow this lot because I'll be first out of the door. Second item is mobile phones and various devices. If you could make sure they're switched to silent or off. If they do go off and they disturb my meeting, it's a £10 fine to the chairman's charity. Now, that's not me as chairman of this committee. It's the chairman of the council, who is currently out of the room on her phone, is Councillor Samantha Taylor. And her chosen charities this year, I can never get them right. Her daughter's there.
It's Chapel Green School and
Nelson's Journey and Chapel Green School. Oh, here she is. We should have all applauded and made her feel bad. So, yes, so your money for disturbing my meeting will go to a very good cause. Okay, next item, introductions. I'm going to introduce my team to you for today. At our far end, we've got the head honcho, which is Simon Wood. He's the main man. He's the one you can throw things at. On my left-hand side, our solicitor for today is not Mr. Horn. It's actually Nikki Fonseca, who was here not too long ago, about 8 years. But we've got her out the cupboard, dusted her down and trundled her here for today. On my right-hand side, I have Chris Hobson, one of our main officers, and Will Hornbuckle. Oh, and Michael Knowles. Sorry? Knowles, right. And at the front, of course, we have Julie Britton, who is our Democratic Services, and brand new out of the wrapper, sitting right in front of me with her lovely long hair, is Katie Body. Got to get that right. Not Bodie and Doyle, Body in the Garden, who is Committee Services Officer. And of course, we have, he's not here at the moment, Chris Fitzgerald, who was our usher for today, who saw you all in and made sure you're all in the right room. I think that's everyone covered, I hope. Okay, without procedure, let me just cover procedure. As each item is called, I have a list of people who wish to speak. And when I call them, they will come over and sit down where these people are sitting already, so I won't need to do that. And we will then have the officer do the presentation, and then I will give them their times to speak. And when their various times are up, there will be the sound of a bell, which is that. I normally go like that, and that means please sum up. That doesn't mean please sum up for the next 10 minutes. That means please sum up, come to an end. You do not need to stop instantly. And if you decide that you want to just chunter on till lunchtime, I have a special button here that shuts off every microphone. So you'll have to really talk loudly to get over the top of me, and I'll make sure you don't. Okay, so without further ado, we go into our agenda for today. Item 1 is to confirm the minutes of the meeting held on the 16th of December 2025. Do I have your authority to sign that off, please, members? Okay, thank you. There we go, Julie, thank you. Item 2, Julie, please. Apologies and substitutes.
Thank you, Chairman. I have apologies from Councillor Roger Attewell, and Councillor Peter Bate is standing in as his substitute. And also, obviously, we have apologies from Mike Horn, the solicitor, and Rebecca Collins, Head of Development Management.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Peter, for coming and making our numbers up. And the fact that I've got a bit of a tickly throat has got nothing to do with the fact that Rebecca Collins is not here today. That is just coincidental, just in case anyone wants to make any reference. Nothing to do with me. Oh, Yeah, thank you. I know you will anyway. Okay, thank you. Okay, our next item is item 3. Now, declarations of interest and representations that have been received, I will take as each item is raised. Item 4, Chairman's announcements. I'm not going to tell you how many sleeps to Christmas. I think we'll give that a few more months yet because you've only just woke up from Christmas. But I will take this opportunity to say Happy New Year to you all. I know that sounds a bit late as well. And I may even start at the next meeting doing an update as to when the sun sets and the sun rises, just to keep you all on your toes. Thank you. Item 5, request to defer applications in this agenda. Chris?
No.
You sure?
Yes. There's a change to the final item in Watton in terms of a recommendation. Yeah, it's on. There's a change to the recommendation in the final item, but we'll get to that in due course.
Okay, thank you. Okay, item number 6, urgent business. Do we have any items of urgent business, Chris? No?
No.
Nothing you wish to take? Fine.
No.
Okay, item 7 is our local plan update, and that's going to be taken by Simon Wood. Thank you, Simon.
Thank you, Chairman. Just to keep this brief in terms of the local plan update, as members will be aware, the Regulation 18 consultation ended on the 15th of December last year after just over 6 weeks of consultation. It included in-person events in all the market towns, also Elizabeth House, and also near our large proposed site allocations in East Harling and Rowdham and Larling. The leader also hosted a live town hall event online where we accepted questions and answered live, and you can watch the recording online if you're minded to do so. We had around 435 people attending these events, which for a local plan is actually quite a decent number. So the next stage is for the planning policy team to read, assess and review the comments to see if any changes need to be made to the local plan. And once this is concluded, the plan can be redrafted and presented to members for approval to take it to the Regulation 19 consultation, which is the draft submission document. And that's planned for July this year. We plan to hold an all-member briefing in late February, early March to go through the outcomes of the consultation and to outline where the plan is heading. Thank you, Chairman.
Any questions from members at all? No, thank you. Okay, moving swiftly on, we have now, item 8 is deferred applications. Oh, sorry. Yes, you're on that same item. Are you delivering that as well? Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. So, as members will be aware, it's a requirement of the National Planning Policy Framework to prepare a 5-year housing land supply statement, which compares the government's housing requirement against the supply of houses within the district, as indicated by the number of consented dwellings. This is expressed as the number of years of housing supply available. As set out in Appendix A, attached to the report, currently the Council has a housing land supply of 2.82 years. This is based on an annual requirement of 920 dwellings per annum, which was set by the government in December 2024 and was an increase of around 45% over the previous housing requirement number. This has undoubtedly had a significant impact on the land supply figure, but is a result of the government's aims to deliver 1.5 million houses in the life of this Parliament. It should be noted that even with our original housing requirement of 612 dwellings, the Council would still not have a 5-year housing land supply. It would be just over 4 years. Housing supply is indicated by the number of unbuilt dwellings with planning permission, which will be delivered over the next 5 years, as well as those completed or being constructed within that period. There is guaranteed delivery at Thetford Kingsfleet, And whilst delivery has yet to start at Attleborough Urban Extension, there is confidence that delivery will start within the next 5 years. Members will also be aware that over the last 2 to 3 years, planning income has been significantly below previous levels, and that is reflected in the number of dwellings in the current supply due to a lack of large housing development, consents and planning applications coming forward. However, over the last 9 to 12 months, planning income has significantly increased, and currently within the system and being processed are applications that, if approved, would bring around 2,300 houses into the supply chain. The Council is also working on an updated local plan, which it aims to have adopted in 2028, which will also address the housing supply issue. The current plan is over 5 years old, and that also has the potential to reduce the weight given to its policies. The lack of a 5-year housing land supply means that the tilted balance is engaged in the determination of planning applications for housing. This means that unless there are policies within the NPPF that indicate an application should be refused, permission should on balance be granted. The Council has within its current local plan clear policies around the sustainable location of development and also good design, including its design guide. These are areas which are identified within paragraph 11 of the NPPF as being necessary to ensure high standards of development. Because of these policies, the Council is able to have a successful track record of winning appeals for housing development that are considered to be poorly designed or in unsustainable locations. Officers and senior members also work with the development industry through regular engagements such as the Agents Forum, and the next one of those will be held in this room on the 27th of January to try and unlock blockers to being able to build out permissions. It must be remembered that at present there is a national slowdown in the construction industry, which is reflected in the number of houses delivered in 2024-25, which was substantially below those of the previous 3 years, and that is set out in Table 1 at Appendix A. The report is for noting, Chairman.
Thank you for that. Were there any questions from members? Yes, Councillor Bambridge.
Well, it's just one sort of cautionary question, Simon. A number of people in rural areas, and I represent a rural area, as you know, are concerned about a flood of housing in their areas because of directly our lack of housing land supply. Now, I appreciate all that you've said today about there being conditions which we can and do apply, and I fully accept that we normally win appeals. But I think that sort of view is something that should be made much plainer to parishes where any housing development would be cautionary or borderline or particularly contentious. And you probably know of some of the sites that I might be talking about. And I think it would be good if we could, as a council, be much more specific and talk to those rural areas. Thank you. Oh.
No, I'm green now. No, that's noted, and I'm quite happy to have a chat with our policy team, and we can just put together maybe a short note that we can just circulate to parishes and town councils. I think it's fair to say that there will be situations where development right on the edge of a sustainable village that we may otherwise refuse, may on the tilted balance be considered to be acceptable for that reason. What we do have is a good record of making sure that we have high standards of design, and that development in villages that aren't sustainable, where you have to use the public car, use your private car to access facilities, we tend to be successful in winning those at appeal. But I'm quite happy for us to do a short note that can be circulated.
Okay, any other further questions? No, thank you very much. Okay, then now we're moving on. Deferred applications, there are none to be brought into the agenda for today, so we move on to item 9, which is our schedule of planning applications. And our first one is at Dereham at 3PL 2024-0169. That's an application in full. And I have a list of speakers. I've got David Davis, who's a supporter. You have 4 minutes, sir. Fraser Chattleborough, who's the agent. Tony Doyle, who is a highways consultant. We've got Councillor Alison Webb, who's the ward representative, and also Councillor Monument, who may have an addition towards the end. Okay, thank you. I'm going to hand you over to Will. Thanks, Will.
Thank you, Chairman. So this is application 3PL 2024-0169F at Pen Hill Bush Lane, Etling Green, Dereham, for the construction of replacement church hall and permeable parking area with a new entrance area following demolition of existing. This is a location plan of the site. And then this is a site in relation to the settlement boundary, so you can see the relationship of the site with Dereham there to the left. This is the site in the wider context. And again, the proposed site plan. So the site does benefit from an established and existing lawful church use through implemented planning permissions. The proposal would replace the existing church hall without increasing the scale, frequency or intensity of activity on site. Redundant agricultural buildings would be removed, resulting in a net reduction in built form, an improved fit-for-purpose facility for the congregation. It is understood that the current meeting hall is becoming increasingly dilapidated, with inadequate provision for the elderly and young families. The church hall is looking for a more workable facility, which is also aesthetically pleasing and will bring benefit to the community and area. The proposal supports an existing community facility and is considered acceptable in accordance with Policy Commo 4 of the Breckland Local Plan. These are proposed elevations. So you can see the outlines of the existing buildings there in purple. It's a low-level single-storey unit of simple design with horizontally laid black cladding, suiting the rural aesthetic and barn style in the surrounding areas, with red-facing brick plinth, grey composite roof panels and fenestration on the elevations. The proposed single-storey replacement would be lower than the existing, as you can see on the plans, and when considered alongside the buildings to be demolished, it would result in a net reduction in built form on the site. Its setback position, appropriate materials and new landscaping ensure it would not harm the character or appearance of the countryside. This is a proposed floor plan. Some photos of the site. So this is looking into the site. You can see the existing just peeking out there in the middle. This is the current access tracks looking from the site out leading onto the highway. And then this is looking left and right, east and west from the existing access. And then this is looking over towards the existing access, and again from the existing access looking down into the track. So this is where the proposed new access would be, where sort of opposite where that silver car is on the screen. And again, showing the location of the new access opposite that silver car, just beyond to the left of the trees there. So the site is well separated from neighbouring dwellings, with one nearby property that's within the applicant's ownership. The church hall would continue its limited hours of use, and given the separation distances and established lawful use, would not cause unacceptable noise and disturbance or loss of privacy. Overall, the proposal as a replacement rather than an intensified use is not considered harmful to residential amenity. Several of the conditions from the extant planning permissions are to be implemented with this consent in respect of lighting and the use and users of the church hall. The council's ecologists have been consulted and raised no objection subject to conditions. While set out in full detail within the officer report, the proposed development is considered to comply with policies TR01 and TR02 of the Breckland Local Plan and paragraph 116 of the MPPF, ensuring safe and sustainable access. The site is adjacent to the B1147, a single carriageway, and the existing access is partially constrained by common land, which limits its ability to be widened. To address this, a new access is proposed to the east of the existing access on land not designated as common land. The access is designed with an initial width of 6.8 metres, narrowing to 5.5 metres within the site, and includes a turning head for safe entry and exit. A bund and wooded area are proposed behind the visibility splays to provide screening. The scheme provides 23 car parking spaces, including 2 disabled bays, along with a cycle shelter and permeable surfacing, meeting county standards and supporting sustainable travel. Visibility splays of 176 metres to the left and 190 metres to the right have been calculated in line with DMRB guidance, meeting or exceeding standards and comparable to the existing access. Highways have confirmed that the visibility at the proposed new access would be the same as at the existing access. So from a technical perspective, the sight lines are safe and meet standards. Their objection isn't about necessarily visibility or safety, it's about legal control of the land for access. National Highways have been consulted and they've raised no objection, confirming that the replacement hall would not increase congregation numbers or traffic. The development maintains the same scale and pattern of vehicle movements as the existing lawful use, and the access, parking and cycling provision fully meet policy requirements. On balance, the highway's impacts are acceptable, would not result in unacceptable risk to highway safety, and do not constitute a reason for refusal. The proposal is therefore considered acceptable in highways terms. The proposed replacement Church Hall at Pen Hill, Bush Lane North would continue an established and lawful community use, providing modern facilities while reducing the overall built footprint. The development is sympathetic in scale, design and siting, respects the character and visual amenity of the surrounding area, surrounding countryside, and would not result in unacceptable impacts on neighbouring amenity. Adequate parking, cycle provision and safe access are demonstrated, and ecological and tree matters can be addressed through conditions. The proposal is therefore recommended for approval. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we've got David Davis, who's a supporter, and we have pre-arranged that you have 4 minutes, sir, if that's okay.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, thank you for your time, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak in support of this application. My name
Could you just move your microphone nearer to you so members can hear? Thank you.
Is that better?
Yep.
Hear it better. My name is David Davis, and I speak as a member of our local Christian community. I'm also representing a number of supporters from our community, some of who are in the room with us today. This application is about improving the facilities and the access to our local Plymouth Brethren Christian Church. The present building is rather run down, needs rebuilding to provide a better experience for those who regularly attend. The current access is a single, unadopted, poorly maintained road, which is shared with the local residents. We make it our business to always be good and respectful neighbours. The church is regularly attended as a place of worship and a place where people of all ages, from the very young to the elderly, find stability, routine, education and a sense of belonging. And you'll have seen the letters from members of the congregation that support this. This application has been a long 2-year journey. In that time, I think Mr. Hornbuckle would agree that even though there has been a challenge, we've listened and we've learned and we've adapted. Before I continue, I'd just like to say thank you to the planning team. There's a good culture in the team, and we thank you for your patience and support. During the consultation, a problem was raised by the Highway Authority regarding visibility displays onto the main road. Mr. Tony Doyle, our highways and transportation consultant, who you're just about to hear from, I think, has dealt with the point raised by the Highway Authority. The simple conclusion is that the proposed access is safer than our existing access in terms of visibility displays provided and width of access. And I'd like to reassure the committee that this hall is only used for church purposes, and that our regular meetings are at times when there is minimal traffic, which I hope will strengthen your decision to support the officer's recommendation. I'd also like to highlight some of our contributions to the local community, namely the work of the Rapid Relief Team. The Rapid Relief Team, known as the RRT, provides emergency and disaster relief wherever it is needed, and it supports local initiatives such as litter picking, health and disability, youth initiatives, poverty and hardship. We respond when help is needed, and we do so quietly and respectfully. We are also employers in the area and have worked closely with the planning team on some redevelopments on the Rashers Green Industrial Estate. This working together has been a positive experience and has resulted in a significant improvement to the area and considerable increase in employment opportunities for Dereham. I made reference to our supporters, a small number who are here today, and I hope that I've done justice to you all today in expressing what the proposal means to all of us in the community. Ladies and gentlemen of the Planning Committee, this project means a great deal to us, and we hope that you recognise that we're asking for your help by raising your hand when asked if you're in favour of approving the application. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We've now got Fraser Chettleborough. You've got a minute and a half, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The opportunity to present today. As you've heard, we've satisfied the Planning Authority on 99% of the proposal. But despite our tireless efforts with the Highway Authority, we were unable to satisfy them on certain technical issues. To explain more, I hand over to our highway consultant, Mr. Tony Doyle.
Hello, I'm Tony Doyle. I'm a highways and transportation consultant. Essentially, I'm here to explain why a development can be accessed safely, and on this occasion, it's relatively easy for me to do so. There is an existing access with certain visibility displays, and the new access will have visibility displays that exceed those, and we're also providing a wider width. In the last 25 years, there have been no accidents on the B1147 in the vicinity of the existing access, which demonstrates that the existing access and its visibility displays are safe, and therefore just simply transposing into the new access, which will be exceeding in visibility display terms, would be safe. We are also simply transferring the existing Churchill traffic to the new access. There won't be a new additional increase in traffic in that respect. Referring to National Planning Policy Framework, paragraph 117, development should only be prevented or refused on highways grounds if there would be an unacceptable impact or severe impact on highway safety grounds, which my conclusion is that there wouldn't be. There is a technical objection by the Highway Authority. It's because of the presence of common land. Excuse me. Presence of common land and land that is owned by national highways. But this land was previously adopted highway land, but in 1990 it was stopped up, but they still own it. In late November 2025, so just November just gone, National Highways has made available to the Highway Boundary Team at Norfolk County Council the land which was stopped up for the purpose of making it highway land again. So the technical objection is that it can be easily removed. But notwithstanding that position is that it is there available for all purposes in any case. And notwithstanding that, we still have significant visibility displays. I'm here to answer any questions that you may have, and I hope that you will support this application. And I'll just refer again that our proposed access will have greater visibility displays than the existing, and it will be wider. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We've got Councillor Webb, please, 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, everybody. Okay. Councillor King and I have visited the old hall as a check. What we normally do when there's planning applications in the area, we go and have a look ourselves. We talk to the people, we talk to the residents. I will say that I agree that the old church hall needs to be replaced. It is in quite a state and it's not welcoming as far as the disability, young people. It just doesn't have that feeling in it when you look at the empty hall. However, there was concern that Etna Green obviously is a really rural area that needs protection. But looking at it, It's a replacement for the hall that's there already. So it's not an additional building going on that land, which has been some of the concerns that I've talked to residents about. They said, well, if we have an extra access, we're going to get extra houses. No, this is nothing to do with that. This means this is a replacement for a building that really needs to be replaced as soon as possible. So looking at it, it's a sensible way ahead. The other the concern that some residents were talking about was the lighting, but I see that there's already a condition that's been added to the planning application, which takes care of this. Obviously, worrying about the traffic getting distracted by the lighting and also the wildlife in the area. Let's face it, it's a very, very rural area. It's not part of Dereham, it's separate from Dereham. There is a gap, and we want to keep that gap because it's a hamlet, as far as I'm concerned, that needs protection, and that's what it's all about. So I'm pleased that the condition's been added. Thank you very much. So I don't think there's anything else to say other than, there's no objection from NCC Highways, which is really important. And I just want to completely say that I support this application fully, and I look forward to the outcome. Thank you. And do you want to say anything, Linda? I'm going to pass over to Linda Monument. Is that okay, Chairman?
Yes,
Not
Councillor Monument.
King.
Sorry,
King.
I got married last
King.
year. They haven't
King.
got used to
Oh,
it.
King. Yes, sorry.
I answer to
Councillor
both.
King.
It's all right. I answer to both if
Thank you.
necessary. And Alison has said most of it. We did visit the property,
Yeah.
and although they were obviously looking after it to the best of their ability,
Yeah.
it just doesn't provide
No.
the facilities that they need. I just wanted also to say that when we were greeted at the place, we were welcomed by a group of people who are obviously a good team. A good atmosphere prevails. There is a very positive and friendly community spirit in this little church, and I am confident, although we only met half a dozen of them, that this is something that has an ongoing future, and therefore is not likely to come back in 3 years' time with them saying, oh, sorry, it's folded, we've now got a bingo hall going to be using it instead. I think this is an ongoing purpose that will prevail for a long time, especially when it's got the facilities that it needs for disabled people, children, to make use of this facility in a very quiet, pleasant rural spot. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. It's open to questions from members. Any questions at all? Sorry, Councillor Westman and then Councillor Bambridge, please.
Thank you, Chairman. In terms of the number of vehicle movements, could you please give us a size of give us an idea as to the size of your community, the Plymouth Brethren there? How large are you? How many souls, how many vehicles in a week would be interesting, please?
Those that currently use the hall, we gather in numbers of about 40 at a time, and we generally travel as families, so cars and vehicles would be kept down to a minimum. Does that answer the question? Sometimes it varies if there's sickness or there's a good number of babies and little children that attend, but around about 40 to 45 people would gather there regularly.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bambridge, please.
Yes, something the officer said sort of jarred in my mind a little bit with the nature of the building, and I would just like to have a comment from the applicants or their agents on this. The officer said, I believe, that there was no intention of enlarging the number of people who go there. I forget quite how he put it, but he said you weren't intending to grow. Well, if we look at the national news, television, radio, papers, in the last couple of weeks, apparently Christianity has almost doubled in size in congregations recently. The sales of Bibles have more than doubled. And supposing you get an influx from these newly enlivened people to your congregation, will you turn them away or will you actually grow? And how would you deal with that? Thank you.
That's a difficult question. I'm just trying to think this one through. I mean, I wasn't aware of what you speak of. I suppose we wouldn't turn anyone away from wanting to come to one of our gospel preachings or something like that. If somebody wanted to attend a gospel preaching, we'd welcome anybody, I think.
It's the capacity of the hall.
And there's obviously a restriction to the capacity of what we're intending, but I have to confess I hadn't taken what you said exactly into consideration, but it would be a possibility, I guess, if somebody wanted to attend a gospel preaching, if there was one there.
Thank you. Yeah, that was.
There is a supplementary to that, of course.
Oh, there's a supplementary.
There is, and that is really to your traffic expert. Is the capacity of the entrance sufficient to take an increase in the number of regular congregants?
The short answer is absolutely. I mean, it's wide enough to accommodate two-way traffic flows. I mean, to put it into context, 40, 45 members of the congregation, let's say there's 3 or 4 per occupancy per car. We're looking at 10 to 15 vehicle movements arriving as a wave and then departing as a wave. I mean, in the context of junction capacity and highway link capacity, this is nominal. I mean, there'll be greater fluctuations and daily variations in traffic flows generally that would accommodate this. And to put it also into context, it's Sunday evenings, or Sunday afternoons, that's correct, and Monday evenings are the main time. So, you know, when traffic flows are significantly lower anyway. So, you know, in that context, I think it would be, I don't think you'd really even materially notice these people on the highway unless you actually saw them turning into or out of the access. So yes, I hope that provides some reassurance for you.
Yes, I think Councillor Bambridge is concerned in case there's an influx of a mass amount of coaches delivering those wanting to pray. The way things are at the moment, the climate throughout the world, I think there's a lot of us need to start praying soon. But thank you for that. Any other further questions from members? Councillor Wilkinson.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Councillor, my colleague here has just opened up a little can of worms. I assume the hall is the capacity, you said about the capacity, you have 40 roughly. I would assume the capacity legally is more in the hall anyway, like you have village halls that with functions, they obviously have a maximum number. So I'm sure the capacity of this new building is going to cope with any influx of members. And I must say as well about the highways, I've sat here 10 years now, and the old entrance that was shown on there has been a lot. In my opinion, that's a very good view anyway. I've seen worse on planning applications. So with the new one, which is going to be wider, we'll take coaches if necessary. So I'm fully behind that transport.
Thank you. I don't think that was anything to answer. I think there was a question and answer 2 or 3 times over. Any further questions from members before we take the vote? No, thank you very much. So on this item at Dereham 3PL 2024-0169, this is in full format. Your officer's recommendation is one of approval. Could I have a show of hands, please? And those against, none. That was unanimous. Thank you. This is unanimously passed. Thank you very much. And if there is an invite at any time upon completion to the chairman and possibly vice chairman as well, we would love to come along and have a look at the completed building. Okay? You can say a prayer for us then. Thank you. Okay. So, moving swiftly on. I realise there may be some people clearing the room. We're now going on to a PL, which is item 9B, PL 2025-1336. And it's at Watton, 20 High Street. I have Mr. Lee Watson here, I believe, who's the applicant, to answer questions. Also Lauren Lester, who's the agent, and Councillor Claire Bowes is crossing the floor. Take a seat, you're all right, we won't. I know what Claire looks like, and I know one of you is a man and one of you is a woman, so my eyesight's not that bad. Okay, terrific. And I'm going to hand over to you, Michael, please, to take this one.
Thank you, Chairman. So this is for application PL 2025-1336 FMIN, and the address is 20 High Street, Watton, Norfolk. And the application is seeking the change of use from retail to hot food takeaway and is part retrospective. The application is recommended for approval subject to conditions. This is the location plan of the site. And this is the site which is within the conservation area of Watton and falls within the settlement boundary. And this site shows the site from an aerial view perspective, showing the wider context. Next slide is the proposed floor plan and site plan of the application. And this is the previous street view of the site. And this is since the development has taken place and is viewed from north from the high street. And this is the view from the southeast along the high street. And this is the view westward facing from Dereham Road. Having reviewed the submitted information, it is considered that the retrospective development is acceptable in principle. The design and appearance are largely acceptable and an improvement. However, note that the swan neck lighting above the fascias conflict with the shopfront design guide and aspirations, which was adopted last year. To summarise the shopfront design guide, existing street lighting should be considered as the primary method of illumination, and need for other lighting should be justified. Where lighting is proposed, full details of the fitting, method of fixing and luminance will be required in support of the planning application and will be judged on a case-by-case basis. Where lighting fascia is considered necessary, this should take the form of discrete LED through lights or a small number of spotlights or halo lighting behind individual letters where they are projecting. Internally illuminated fascias are not appropriate in historic areas and will be resisted. Large swan neck lights were popular in the late 19th and early 20th century, but are easily damaged and overbearing. An excess of fittings such as long-stemmed swan neck projecting lamps can also be disfiguring to a shop front. Modern lighting technology allows for smaller lights to give the same effect and are preferable over larger types. Our historic building officer states, I can confirm my support also. The frontage does look good and a welcome break from the usual standard of submission. My only comment would be with regard to lighting. I would generally not be in favour of brass swan neck type in preference of concealed LED appropriate level lighting with appropriate level lumen level, notwithstanding no objection. Had this application not been retrospective, it is considered that the swan neck lighting design would not have been accepted as guided by the shopfront design guide, and instead a more appropriate lighting design would have been requested. With regards to amenity, there are no objections from Environmental Health Officer following the additional submitted information and is considered to accord with the Breckland Amenity Policy COM03. With regards to heritage assets, this is considered acceptable, subject to a more appropriate lighting design. Highways and traffic raise no objections, as the retrospective development is in a sustainable location in the town centre of Watton with suitable parking nearby. Therefore, the retrospective development is considered to have no significant impact with regards to highways. Given the information presented today, it is recommended that the application PL 20251336 FMIN be approved, subject to conditions as identified in the report pack on pages 76 and 77. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have Lauren Lester, please, the agent. Oh, you want to go first? Okay, yeah. Yeah, go for it.
So my reasons for calling this application in relate primarily to the request by the case officer that a condition be applied to this application requiring that the swan neck lights are removed, and also with the inconsistency of views between officers on this matter. On the 1st of December, in his formal response to the application, Andrew Gayton, Historic Buildings Officer, stated that the revamped frontage of the shop does look good and a welcome break from the usual standard of submission. Andrew also goes on to say that he has no objection to the swan neck lighting, yet despite that, the case officer went on to request, in a subsequent email to the applicant, a reduction of the lighting, going on to say that his stance is very unlikely to be negotiated, citing conservation area and proximity of listed buildings. However, the fact is that a number of shops exist in the vicinity with lighting displaying much more glare than in question here, and frontages of mediocre and non-traditional design which do not complement the conservation area and listed buildings in the manner that the refurbishment of the baguette shop has. Indeed, I believe that what has been achieved by Mr. Watson in the shop's appearance fits very well with Breckland's design guide policies and is a shining example, not only on Watton High Street, but across the district and county of what we would like to see more of in our market towns. As elected member for Watton, I've not had one member of the public raise any issue with me regarding the newly revamped premises, lighting, or any other aspect, quite the opposite, in fact. The opening of the baguette shop and its new shop front has been received with huge enthusiasm in the community, and Mr. Watson is to be commended for his investment in the High Street, which has not only been financial, but has injected a large boost of positivity and life into the town. Of course, retrospective applications are not ideal. However, it would be a great shame if Mr. Watson were penalised by being asked by condition to remove lighting, which is complementary to the style of the new shop front and has a positive design and economic impact on Watton High Street. I hope members agree that conditioning to remove any of the swan neck lighting would be overzealous and unnecessary, and that members will be minded to approve this application without such a condition. And please do bear in mind that the Historic Buildings Officer is happy with it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Councillor. Lauren Lester now, 3 minutes, please.
Firstly, good morning and thanking you for allowing me to speak. I'm here regarding the proposal to reduce the external lighting at the Watton Hot Baguette shop. We are concerned that this decision does not fully reflect the positive impact the shop has had on the high street. The shop was intentionally designed with traditional, vintage and patriotic values in mind, and the frontage has been widely praised. We have been approached by members of the public and neighbouring business owners who have congratulated us on the decor and commented that it gives the high street a much needed lift. Since opening, the shop has attracted customers from other towns and even other counties, bringing valuable footfall into Watton and generating positive attention for the town as a whole. The external lighting is not just decorative, it improves the public safety in the evenings, makes the area feel welcoming and helps deter antisocial behaviour by keeping the street well lit. Whilst we understand the importance of the design guidance, it's also worth noting that Claire, who was involved in drafting that guidance, has expressed her support for the lighting remaining as it is, recognising its benefits to the town. We respectfully asked that the Council to consider the wider benefits to the Watton High Street, its safety and its vitality before making any decisions to reduce the lighting. And as Claire also mentioned in her speech, we have some photos here which I can pass along of other businesses that do have some other lighting that is along the high street, which we believe are more garish than the lighting that we hold at the shop ourselves. And again, I'm more than happy to pass these along. But as I said, when we designed the shop, it was with a vintage, patriotic style in mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Would members like to see those other photos? Or yes, you would. Okay, if you'd like to just are they two sets? Is there? Oh well, one set for the front row, one set for the back row. That'll be fine. Sorry for the delay. I wasn't aware these photos would be here, but I think they are important to show. Well, that's my decision anyway. So while they're just being passed out, thank you. Yeah, I've got two the same here. I've got two the same here. I've got two of them. I think there's one further up and across. Okay, just one sec while they're being passed out. No, no, I've only got two. What's missing? Okay. Is it the barber shop one you took a picture of?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll have that one, please. Oh, sorry, Lauren, didn't mean to make you jump up. That's fine. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Okay, well, while you're just having a little wander then, has anyone got any questions they wish to ask? I'll start with Councillor Gilbert because he is actually Watton, and then we'll take Councillor Kybird and Councillor Taylor. Thank you.
Chairman. I think we need to make clear when we vote exactly what we're voting on. I mean, there's talk about removing a condition. If we vote in favour of the application it stands, are we saying we don't want the swan neck lighting? So I would like to propose, I think, that the condition on removal of the swan neck lighting is removed, because I'm quite happy with it as it is. It has brought a facelift to Watton, and you know, obviously I know it, I've seen it, and while we're looking at those photographs, I thought we were not in favour of internally illuminated shop signs, apart from Turkish barbers. While we're looking at these photos, is there anything that can be done to get rid of that horrendous shop in front?
Yeah, that's not the application before us today. Can I take Councillor Kybird, please?
Keith? Thank you, Chairman. Roughly speaking, saying the same as Keith, I think the committee needs to decide whether that condition is part of the approval or not. So I suggest that we vote on the condition prior to voting on the application.
Okay, actually I'll take Mr Wood first and then I'll go to Councillor Taylor and Councillor Bambridge. Simon?
Thank you, Chairman. I just want to be sure that members are applying the right weight to the right elements in terms of its consideration of this application. The case officer made it clear in the presentation that if this was not a retrospective application, we would have been negotiating for the removal of the swan lights and a different lighting scheme for this shop, which would have accorded with the shop front guide. And I want to caution members in terms of giving weight to the fact that this work has already been carried out. I think it's important that we look at the policy and we look at the impact of the lighting on the conservation area. The shopfront design guide is something that we've brought in to improve town centres within Dereham, Watton, Thetford, Swaffham and Attleborough, all the market towns, to lift the town centres and the character of them up, and is in response to the concerns that members, parish and town councils have expressed in relation to the state of those town centres around shop fronts and lighting and adverts. I note that there are lights and shops within Watton Town Centre that aren't pleasing to the eye, and if those are sent to us through our online enforcement complaint form, then we can look at them and see if they have the right consents in place and address them in line with the shop front. What I would say is that I would ask members to think very carefully before removing the condition. I would ask members to think very carefully before accepting that the retrospective nature of this application is given too much weight and goes against what we consider to be a good design in this town centre. As officers, we totally accept that the shop front has been significantly improved. We welcome that, and we want to work with shop owners and tenants to carry on that. But I would ask that you're making this decision for the right reasons and not placing too much weight on the retrospective nature of the application. Thank you, Chairman.
Councillor Taylor, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Just for clarification, is it that the type of lighting that's been installed is not preferable or that it's prohibited?
Yeah, I'll just come back on that. Yeah, in terms of the guide, Michael went through some of the guidance that particularly hones down to what appropriate forms of lighting are considered appropriate. It is a guide, a bit like the broader Breckland design guide. It doesn't, what it's saying is it doesn't prohibit certain, it doesn't say this type of lighting shall never be granted or approved. It says what is really the best form of design for a shop front, what is more appropriate in terms of our market towns, what is appropriate in those, and you've got traditional shop fronts in this area, you know, you've got are particularly important, and it deals with what traditional forms of lighting and shop fronts were. So the approach, as it highlights, it also talks about when swan neck lamps originally came through, they proliferated in the late 19th, early 20th century, the Edwardian type of time period. So, but it also talks about why that's appropriate, and it's as we know, traditional shop fronts would have generally been a timber kind of form of construction, traditional detailing. The applicants are commended because they've done a lot of that already. It is this specific approach to lighting that the Breckland Design Guide, particularly on lighting, says the swan neck lamps, they tend to disfigure a shop front and a fascia. There is concerns about damage, how long they are can be retained for. They have a slender neck, etc. So there's that aspect to it, and it's those issues with the swan necks. And the guide, as it says, talks through appropriate forms of lighting, which kind of backlit lights, backlit signs. So there'll be an LED behind any kind of light wording, or a trough light which sits above the fascia board and lights back towards the fascia.
Thank you. Councillor Banbridge, please.
Right. I think there's a lot of confusion in this, and I accept what has been said. First of all, something I'd like to get cleared up is what is the actual danger of damage being caused to these lights or from these lights? Because it seems to me that they're entirely over the pavement, they're not over the road, and so therefore the risk of collision by a tall vehicle is fairly minimal, and so that would be a real reason for me to say take them away. And I've got a feeling of deja vu here, because I'm sure I've said about possibly another application with similar lights, or maybe a previous conversation about this application, that I wouldn't actually approve of them. But I have seen the pictures which have been presented today, both on the screen and passed in front. And I think those lights do in fact fit very well with the frontage of that shop and within its setting in Watton. So therefore, had this application today been for, can we put these lights up over our shop, as opposed to you must take them down, then I think I would be approving the, can we put these lights up over our shop? Because they do look good. So I'm going to hear what other people have got to say, and I'm still not undecided, but I think it's a very confusing issue. And I am really quite sympathetic, as I sit here right this second, for the applicant to retain the lights.
Thank you. I think the danger is that if the stagecoach comes into town, the driver may be knocked off the top of the stage and lose control of the horses.
One of my very distant relatives drove one of those.
Okay. Councillor Taylor, please.
Thank you. I actually, again, like other members, I quite like them. I think we are talking about a conservation area and we've put something in that traditionally would have been found in a conservation area. So I'm slightly miffed by it. But I would like clarification. We're talking about the risk of damage and danger. Surely, we'll move our electronics away. Can I just have clarification, as a planning authority, do we take into account occupants or business owners' risk assessments and insurance? Because surely if the danger would be within their risk assessment, if a member of the public was injured by a falling light or a damaged light, that would be their insurance. Where do we stand as a planning authority when we're taking those things into consideration?
Okay, so I think we're potentially getting a little bit confused here, because actually the design guide isn't about safety, it's about aesthetics. So I don't think, from my interpretation, that I've just been trying to bring the actual wording up in front of me, but haven't been able to. In fact, could the planner bring up the wording again, please, of the actual design guide so that we know what we're talking about? Right, okay, so the actual wording, if we just work through this, is that large swan neck lights were popular, I'm going to skim over, but they are easily damaged and overbearing. An excess of fittings, such as long-stemmed or swan-necked projecting lamps, can also be disfiguring to a shop front. So I think you need to remove from your minds the idea that it causes some kind of danger. It's not about a danger, it's that because of their intrinsic design, they may not last as long, they may snap or disintegrate, I suppose, more easily.
Sorry, okay, then before I take Councillor Clark, could I just ask, if we had a very old building in the town centre that had swan neck lights that dated back, say, 100 years and had been rewired, etc., are we saying that we would prefer to have them removed for the likes of a neon flashing light? No, we wouldn't, but I'm just asking the planning team.
But it's not that black and white, is it? We're not turning around to you and saying that it's an either or in this situation. And we accept that everybody has a different view in terms of the aesthetics of these lights, and it's perfectly within the remit of this planning committee to turn around and say, yeah, we note what it says in the shopfront design guide. We note the circumstances of this application, and in our view, we think that these lights are acceptable. Alternatively, you can turn around and say they need to be replaced completely, or they need to be reduced in number. There are permutations and nuances within that. Chairman.
There we go. So we've got lean to it. I've got Councillor Clark, and then I'll come back to Councillor Bambridge. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm like to say that I'm sympathetic to the application because we also, in my ward, which includes a large part of the town centre in Dereham, we have some horrendous examples, and I wish we had an example that Watton has done and replicated in Dereham the Market Square. As far as the application is concerned, as this is retrospective, perhaps the officer can help us, or the applicant, is when the work was done, was there consultation with the historic officer in terms of what would or wouldn't be acceptable, and also the officer in terms of the design? Thank you.
Well, Chris can answer that on my belief that it's all retrospective.
Yeah, that's correct. From my understanding, the application came to us, it was all retrospective. So when we visited the site to do the site visit, assessed the application, it was as is, as you've seen on the photographs there. That's correct.
Yes, okay, briefly.
Yeah, no, so we had submitted the application for change of use to the shop prior to the planning being able to visit. And I mean it kindly, because given their workload, the visit, which is when the lighting had already been installed, was delayed due to the amount of workload that you guys had on at the time, which was explained to myself upon the visit. So our application was submitted with enough time, but there was a number of weeks before you were able to visit, which obviously we had carried out work within that period.
Councillor Bambridge, please. I'll come back again.
Well, yes, I was going to just underline the fact that design can in fact overrule. I think the officer was quite right to refuse it in terms of the policy we have. But as always, there has to be a grey area, and the grey area is what comes to the committee. And the committee can say that in certain circumstances, in this case anyway, design can overrule the bold statement that's made in the committee. And I think in this case, the design has overruled.
Thank you. Councillor Clark.
Just a supplementary back to our officer, Chairman, just to say that when the work was undertaken, the design guide was already in force. It was already extant. That was just my asking for a confirmation on that. Thank you.
Yes, correct. It was adopted in June 2025.
Okay, I want to take finally Councillor Gilbert, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I think the word which is important here is a design guide. It's not set in stone. It is there to guide us. And sometimes something would be appropriate and something would be inappropriate. And I am very happy with the design and the lighting. It looks absolutely superb. Now, before we go to a vote, could we actually vote on the condition? So could the condition be read out, please? And then I could then propose what to do with that condition.
That's exactly, unfortunately, you took my thunder away, was exactly what I was going to ask our solicitor, whether we are in a position to literally take a vote, first of all, on whether we wish to approve this subject to the correction of the lighting. And if that fails, to get any support, we then take it that, can we approve it, including the lighting? Can you direct me, please?
Okay, so if, in terms of the condition, obviously if one of the members wishes to hear the wording of the condition or be given the opportunity to review that condition before we move forward, then that's fine. What we then need is someone to either propose that they wish to either amend or remove that condition, and we then need a seconder. We can then proceed and vote on that option before going ahead with the original.
Okay, we'll just hear what that condition is.
Thank you, Chairman. So it will be condition 3, and it reads as follows. Within 6 months of the date of this decision, all swan neck lamps installed on the shop front shall be removed and replaced with an alternative lighting scheme which has first been submitted to and approved in writing by the local planning authority. And the reason for this condition, to ensure all external lighting along the fascia complies with the district-wide shop front design guide and preserves and enhances the character and appearance of the building and surrounding area in accordance with policies COM 01 and Gen 02 of the Breckland local plan. Thank you.
Councillor Gilbert.
Thank you, Chairman. I would like to propose that condition is removed from this application.
Do I have a seconder for that, please? Councillor Clark, seconded. Okay, I'll take that as an amended request from the floor. So on this item, which is PL 2025-1336, your recommendation from the floor is that we approve this item and take away the condition regarding the external lighting.
I'd just like to be clear, Chairman, that this is on the basis that members find the design as set out in the plans and the photographs acceptable, having had regard to the shopfront design guide. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, can I have a show of hands for that, please? That's acceptance of it as it stands. Sorry? Yeah, for the acceptance of the business itself and ignoring the condition of the lighting. So in other words, I want it to see how it is now. I don't want lighting taken down. Okay?
So we're voting for what is there.
Yep, we're voting for what is there now. We're not having any alterations done to lighting. Show of hands, please. I made that as clear as mud. Okay, 9, I believe it was. And those against, 1. Okay, thank you.
So again, just to clarify, Chairman, the application has been approved without condition
to the lighting.
Condition 3.
And that is subject to the building within the ownership it is at present. Can we do that or not?
I think we've already voted to approve it with the condition removed. So
fine,
we'll deal with it on that basis, Chairman.
If he comes back with a strip club, it's not my problem. Okay, carry on hot baguetting then. You have your permission. I do apologise, it's a long drawn out thing, but this is why we had it through Chairman's panel. It was a tricky one. We did get a little bit knotted with respect to the lighting, but this is also shows what happens when people do things and then ask permission. Naughty, naughty. There we go. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we're moving swiftly on, I hope. 9C, PL 2025-1559. That's at Watton, 24A, the High Street. Oh, I've only got one per, no. Mr. Brooks, you're coming up to sit for questions, aren't you? We've already got Councillor Bowers has moved over, and we should have had Karen Bradley, the agent. No, not here. Didn't turn up. Okay, that's fine. Okay, that's over to you then, please, Chris.
Thank you, Chairman. So we briefly touched on right at the start about a change in recommendations. So this is the final item. You'll note from the report in front of you that the recommendation was for refusal. So since the completion of the report, the councils and officers have received updated drawings. They now show replacement shopfront in terms of windows and door frames in accordance with guidance and advice and requests from the officers to the applicant. It now includes an aluminium framed window and door. So on the basis of having consulted with our historic buildings officer, he's raised no objections, and the application is accordingly in accordance with the policies in our local plan and is recommended for approval. So there's a significant change there, but I can draw you through the presentation.
I would just like to, I think members should just see all the various photos and plans, etc.
So the application before you is simply for the 24 AA High Street. So we're moving a few doors down, basically, from the last site we were discussing, number 20. We're now moving across around the corner, and it is simply to replace an existing shop front in terms of the windows and doors. We can see the relationship to the conservation area, and that's the dotted purple line, green showing the application site, red being listed buildings in the surrounding area, so you get an idea of the heritage assets in that immediate environment. And there's that kind of context. Here we are, 24. We can see the kind of fine grain of the conservation area and existing. So so it's timber frame door and windows at the moment. And the original scheme sought to replace those with UPVC, and that's something that isn't considered appropriate in a conservation area in terms of the appearance and style and design of those windows. But as mentioned, in the last few days, we've received the amended scheme, amended drawings, and as we can see, they propose an amended material, aluminium, which is based on comments from our historic buildings officer. As I mentioned, he's now raised no objections. The proposals before you are considered to accord with the policies in our local plan, ENV07. And here's just to go through the site itself. There's the site, got the timber frame doors and windows, surrounding context. And there's shop fronts in the immediate surrounding area, using those traditional materials and designs, and the site there on the left. And there's just a summary of what I've spoken about already. So this is a simple application. It is simply for the replacement of the shop front. It's now, in terms of the materials, as set out, an acceptable scheme. So the recommendation before you is for approval subject to conditions. So there would be our standard time limit condition, number 1, number 2 being the standard approved plans condition, and condition 3 being requiring in accordance with the approved materials. And that's the application before you. Thank you.
Councillor Bowes, are you wishing to add anything?
Sorry, yes, just to explain that I originally called the application in to support Mr Brooks' application for the replacement of rotten timber windows with UPVC units in a traditional sash style and the same design as the timber joinery. The reason being that whilst being of non-natural material, they would not be significantly noticeable as such, and the traditional style proposed would not detract from the character of the high street or the buildings around. I believe this council should be mindful that from an economic perspective, it supports property owners who aspire to maintain and repair the buildings they own to the enhancement and benefit of the high street economy and the amenity of residents. And these are not speculative alterations, but necessary replacements for joinery that can no longer be repaired. Historic England guidance rightly values traditional materials, but it also recognises proportionate practical upgrades that respect heritage while embracing energy efficiency. And in this case, requiring hardwood would impose unnecessary costs and environmental burden with no meaningful gain in visual or historic integrity. The council is actively supporting the Middle Street regeneration project, which this building is in the locality of, so it seems contraindicative to make it difficult for the applicant to reasonably and cost-effectively make improvements to his property. I was therefore pleased to learn yesterday that Mr Brooks has taken up the officer's suggestion that he use aluminium frames instead of UPVC, and that the Historic Buildings Officer is in approval. So I therefore hope members will be minded to support the amended recommendation and approve Mr Brooks' application. Thank you.
Thank you. Members wishing to ask any questions? No, thank you. Okay, Councillor Kybird. Claire, you're still on.
Oh, sorry.
Just for clarification, it's the left-hand door and the 2 windows above, not the shop front. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay, no further questions, that's fine. Okay, we'll take the vote on this one, which is Watton PL 2025-1559. Your officer's recommendation now is one of approval. Can I have a show of hands, please? It's unanimous. Okay, this is approved, sir. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you. Okay, members, if you just hold on a moment. I wish to just, oh, if I get my right sheet. Okay, thank you. Okay, item 8, oh no, item 8, item 9, we've done that. Item 10, applications determined by the Director of Planning and Building Control. And item 11, appeal summary, again there for your information. If you just wait one moment so we can finish the